The market was crowded with noise, colors, and strange smells. Creatures from 100 different planets walked under the neon lights of Galaxis Station 9, where everything could be bought, even life. Among them walked a human man. Daniel Cross, his steps slow, his eyes tired. He wore an old brown jacket, and in his hand he carried a small, flickering hollow photo of a smiling little girl. Her name was Lena, his daughter. And she was dying. Her lungs were too weak for the new planet's air. The human doctors had given up months ago. Alien hospitals refused to treat her because she was human. Not worth the resources, they said. Daniel had sold everything he owned for treatment. His house, his ship, even his wedding ring. His wife Sarah had died 3 years ago. Lena had no mother now, and Daniel was running out of hope. Then one night, a strange idea entered his mind, a dangerous one. He had heard rumors, whispers of alien women who were for sale on the black market. Illegal but desperate souls who would do anything for freedom. He didn't want slaves. He wanted a mother for his daughter. The next morning, Daniel arrived at the underground auction bay, a dark, hidden place beneath the shining towers of the galactic hub. A robotic voice echoed through the hall. Next batch. 3 female specimens, hybrid class, from the outer colonies. Starting bid, 6 galactic credits. Daniel's heart jumped. 6 credits. That was all he had left. He stepped closer. Behind the metal bars, 3 women stood. Not human, not fully alien either. One had silver eyes that glowed faintly in the dark. The second had blue skin that shimmered like glass. The third looked almost human except for the faint scales along her neck. They looked scared, broken, silent. Daniel swallowed hard. "I'll take them," he said. The auctioneer blinked. "All 3? For 6 credits?" "Yes," Daniel said. "All 3. The robot paused, scanned his ID, and stamped the contract. In less than 5 minutes, Daniel became the owner of 3 alien women, but in his heart he didn't see them as slaves. He saw them as hope. When he brought them to his small house at the edge of the colony, Lena was sitting on her bed, coughing weakly. Her face lit up when she saw him. "Daddy, you came back," she whispered. Daniel knelt beside her. "Yes, sweetheart. And I brought help." The 3 women stood behind him, unsure what to do. Lena looked at them with wide eyes. "Are they angels?" she asked softly. Daniel smiled sadly. "Maybe they are." The silver-eyed one stepped forward and knelt beside the bed. Her voice was calm, melodic. "I am Siren," she said. "I used to heal the sick on my world, but they destroyed it." Daniel's eyes widened. "You're a healer?" She nodded. "I can try to help your daughter, but I need a fusion chamber, and it's not legal for humans." Daniel felt hope rising inside him, and fear. He knew what it meant. They'd have to steal one. The other 2 women introduced themselves. Kyle, the blue-skinned engineer who once worked on starships, and Mira, the quiet one who said she could sense pain and emotion. Lena smiled at them. For the first time in weeks, Daniel saw her eyes shine with a bit of light. That night, as the stars burned cold over the colony, Daniel sat outside, staring at the dark sky. He had broken galactic law. Buying aliens was a crime. Hiding them was worse. But looking through the window, seeing the women comforting his daughter, he didn't care. He whispered, "If this is wrong, then I'll gladly be wrong." Behind him, a distant drone beeped, scanning the area. Daniel froze. The government was searching for illegal traffickers. He turned to run inside one, but it was too late. A red light flickered on his door. "Unauthorized life forms detected," the voice said. Daniel's blood ran cold. The red light above Daniel's door blinked again, louder this time. "Unauthorized life forms detected. Security patrol dispatched." Daniel's heart pounded. The 3 alien women froze, their eyes darting toward the sound. Lena woke up, coughing softly, unaware of the danger. Serene whispered, "They've found us." Daniel grabbed his old plasma tool. "Down to the cellar now." The 4 of them rushed below the small metal house into a dark basement filled with old machinery. Daniel shut the door behind them just as heavy boots echoed outside. Through a crack, he saw the flashing lights of a Galactic Authority drone hovering by the entrance. "This home is under inspection," the machine said coldly. "Please open your door, citizen." Daniel's hands shook. His heart screamed to protect Lena. He couldn't let them take the women or his daughter. Seren placed a calm hand on his arm. "Let me help," she said quietly. Her silver eyes glowed faintly. A soft hum filled the air as she raised her hand toward the ceiling. In seconds, the red scanner light dimmed. The drone's sensors flickered and went blank. "Signal lost. Unit returning to base," it said, flying away into the night. Daniel stared at her. What did you just do?" Seren smiled weakly. "I confused its mind. But it won't last long. We need to be careful." Later that night, the danger passed, but the fear didn't. Daniel sat by the flickering heater, his face buried in his hands. The women watched him silently. He finally spoke. "You didn't deserve this. None of you. I didn't buy you to own you. I just wanted someone to help my little girl." Mira, the quiet one with the scaled neck, stepped forward. "We understand. You didn't treat us like things. You treated us like people. That is rare, even among humans." Cal crossed her blue arms. "But you risked everything. Why? There must be something more." Daniel looked at Lena, sleeping peacefully in the next room. "My wife died on Earth," he said softly. "She was a doctor. She always said Lena needed a mother's warmth, not just medicine. I failed her once. I won't fail her again." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Seren knelt before him. "Then let us help her. But we'll need the fusion chamber soon, or Lena's lungs will fail completely." Daniel frowned. "The fusion chambers are locked in the Galactic Medical Center. They're guarded 24/7. Kyle smiled faintly. "Guards can be distracted," Mira added, "and some doors can be opened without keys." The next day, they began to plan. Daniel drew a rough map on an old screen. The routes of security drones, guard shifts, and where the fusion chamber was kept. Kale adjusted her tool belt. "I can disable the outer cameras, but we'll only have 5 minutes," Seren said. "Once I get inside, I can reprogram the chamber to fit human DNA, but that's dangerous. It could destroy me." Daniel shook his head. "No, I can't let you risk your life." Seren looked at him steadily. "Your daughter's life is worth it." Mira touched his shoulder gently. "You gave us freedom, Daniel. Let us give something back." That night, the four of them moved through the silent city. The galactic hub glowed in blue and gold, its tall towers reaching the clouds. Patrol drones floated overhead like silent predators. Daniel's heart beat fast. He wasn't a soldier or a thief, just a father trying to save his child. Kel whispered, "Now." She threw a small pulse device. The streetlights flickered out. In that brief darkness, they ran across the plaza and slipped through the back gate of the medical center. Inside, cold white corridors stretched endlessly. Serene led the way, her glowing eyes scanning for movement. They found the fusion chamber, a massive silver pod humming with energy. Daniel stared at it in awe. "That's it." Serene nodded. "Stand back." She placed her hands on the glass surface. Streams of blue light flowed from her fingers into the machine. The screen flickered. "Unauthorized access detected," the system warned. Kel cursed. "Security's coming." Mira closed her eyes. "I can feel them." 10 guards east hallway. Seren gritted her teeth. Just a few more seconds. The chamber powered on, glowing bright white. A tube of pure energy swirled inside. Seren turned to Daniel. "It's ready, but we must hurry. The fusion must be done within 1 hour." Sirens began to wail through the building. Daniel grabbed her hand. "Let's go." They sprinted out, alarms flashing behind them. As they escaped into the night, Daniel heard the loud voice of the Galactic Authority echoing through the speakers. "Attention! Human male and 3 alien fugitives are now wanted by the High Council. Capture on sight." Daniel looked at the 3 women beside him, his new family. He whispered, "Then we run." They disappeared into the shadows, carrying with them the only hope for his daughter's life. The sky over Nova 9 Colony was turning pale blue when Daniel and the 3 alien women reached the edge of the desert. Behind them, the city lights blinked like distant stars, and far away came the faint echo of sirens. They had stolen a fusion chamber, and every Galactic Authority drone was now searching for them. Daniel carried the heavy metal case himself. The women moved silently beside him. Their faces were tense, but their eyes were calm. Serene whispered, "We must keep moving before sunrise." "The scanners work better in daylight." Kyle nodded, scanning the horizon. "There's an old mining tunnel 10 miles north. We can hide there." Daniel's breathing was rough, but he pushed forward. "We do this for Lena. Nothing else matters." After hours of walking through red sand and cold wind, they reached a small cave. Daniel set down the fusion chamber and sank to his knees. Mira knelt beside him. Rest a little. You haven't slept in 2 days, he shook his head. I'll rest when my daughter breathes again. Saran placed her hand over the chamber. We can start the process here, but the air is dirty. We'll need clean energy and stable temperature. Without it, Lena's body might reject the fusion. Kale thought for a moment. There's an abandoned energy farm not far from here. If we can tap into its solar grid, we can run the chamber for a few hours. Daniel nodded. Then we go tonight. As darkness fell again, Daniel stared at the small hologram of Lena that he kept in his pocket. Her soft laughter played in a loop, a sound from a time when the world still felt safe. Saran sat beside him. She looks like her mother, she said gently. Daniel smiled faintly. Yes, Sarah was brave. She would have liked you three. Saran looked away. We're not good people, Daniel. We were soldiers, prisoners, and tools for war. We were made to obey, not to care. Daniel turned to her. Then learn to care here. With us, for a moment, she said nothing. But when their eyes met, something warm passed between them. Something neither of them understood yet. The next morning, Kyle led the group to the ruined energy farm. Rusted solar panels stretched for miles, half buried in sand. The control center still had power, a faint hum that never died. Kyle connected the fusion chamber to the grid. It's working, she said with a grin. We'll have enough power for one treatment. Saran opened the chamber, revealing a soft blue mist swirling inside. When Lena breathes this, it will rebuild her lungs. But it must be done carefully. The process could kill her if her heart is weak. Daniel swallowed hard. She's strong. Like her mother, they packed up and prepared to move again. But before they could leave, Mira suddenly froze. Her scales glowed faintly. Someone's coming, she whispered. Many of them. Daniel's eyes widened. How many? More than 20. Drones and soldiers. They're tracking our heat signals, Kyle cursed. We need time to finish charging the chamber. Saran looked at Daniel. Take the chamber and go. We'll hold them off. Daniel shook his head. No, I won't leave you, Mira stepped forward. If they catch us, Lena dies. Go now. The first blast hit the ground near them. A flash of red light and dust. The sky filled with drones. Galactic soldiers surrounded the area, shouting through speakers. Surrender now, human Daniel Cross. You are under arrest for trafficking and theft of restricted technology. Daniel's mind raced. He couldn't let them win. He looked at the women, his family now, and made his choice. He grabbed the fusion chamber, slung it over his shoulder, and ran toward the dunes. Kale fired her plasma cutter, slicing through 2 drones. Sparks flew across the sand. Siren raised her hands, creating a silver wall of energy that deflected the laser beams. Mira knelt, pressing her palms to the ground. A wave of psychic force rippled through the desert, knocking soldiers to their knees. Daniel ran until his lungs burned. He didn't look back, but he heard Kale shout, "Go, Daniel!" "Save her!" He reached the top of a dune and turned around just in time to see the explosion. The solar farm lit up in blue fire. "Kyle, Sarah and Mira," he shouted. No answer. Only silence. The shockwave threw him to the ground. The fusion chamber rolled beside him, still glowing. Daniel crawled to it, trembling. Please don't let them be gone. Through the smoke, he saw a figure, Seren, crawling toward him. Her silver eyes were dim. "Go," she whispered weakly. "They're coming. Save your daughter." Daniel grabbed her hand, tears filling his eyes. "I won't leave you." But Seren shook her head. "You must. She's waiting." Her hand slipped away and her body went still. Daniel screamed into the cold wind, but there was no time to grieve. Far behind him, the engines of enemy ships roared closer. He lifted the fusion chamber, stumbled to his feet, and disappeared into the dunes. He had lost almost everything, except one small spark of hope. The desert wind howled like a wounded beast. Daniel stumbled through the red dunes, clutching the glowing fusion chamber to his chest. His clothes were torn, his hands bleeding, and his heart heavy with loss. Behind him, the smoke from the destroyed solar farm rose into the sky. He didn't know if Seren, Kale, or Mira were alive. But he knew one thing: Lena was waiting. Each step felt heavier than the last. His breath came in sharp bursts. The heat burned his skin. But Daniel whispered to himself, "Don't stop. Not now." He remembered Lena's tiny hands, the way she smiled even when she couldn't breathe properly. He couldn't let that smile fade. By nightfall, he reached the border hills that led back to the human settlement. From the top, he could see the faint lights of his colony, his home. Somewhere in there, his daughter lay dying. He crouched behind a rock as 2 patrol drones flew past, their red lights scanning the sand. "Target missing. Continue search pattern," one of them said in a robotic voice. When they vanished, Daniel sighed with relief and pressed onward. After an hour, he reached the outer gates. The guards were half asleep, unaware that the man walking through the shadows was now the most wanted human in 3 sectors. Daniel slipped into the colony through an old drainage path. He had used it years ago during the flood season. It smelled like rust and oil, but it led straight to the back of his house. When he finally pushed open his door, everything went silent. Lena was still on her bed, her chest rising slowly. Her face looked pale and fragile, but when she saw him, her eyes opened wide. "Daddy," she whispered weakly. "You came back." Daniel fell to his knees beside her, tears blurring his vision. "Yes, sweetheart. I came back, and I brought something that will make you better." He set the fusion chamber on the floor. The machine hummed softly, filling the room with a blue light. Daniel connected the wires as Seren had taught him. His hands trembled. The instructions flashed through his mind. "Activate the core, adjust to human DNA, and pray it works." He whispered, "Please, Seren. Please let this work." The chamber opened with a hiss. A soft mist escaped, glowing like starlight. Daniel carefully lifted Lena and placed her inside. "Just breathe, my love," he whispered. The chamber began to glow brighter. Lena gasped as the air filled her lungs, and clean, powerful air. Her tiny body arched, then relaxed. Daniel watched, terrified, as her heartbeat steadied on the monitor. The numbers climbed higher. Then suddenly the lights flickered. "Energy level critical," the system warned. Daniel looked around. The colony's power grid was too weak to keep it running. If the machine stopped now, the process would fail, and Lena would die. He ran to the control panel and connected every power cell he had. Sparks flew, and the smell of burning metal filled the room. "Come on," he shouted. "Take everything I have." The fusion chamber roared to life again, brighter than before. The walls vibrated. The air shimmered with heat. Daniel shielded his eyes. "Hold on, Lena." Then a silence. The light dimmed. The machine powered down. Daniel's heart pounded. He rushed forward and opened the chamber. Lena lay there still and quiet. For a terrible second he thought he had lost her. But then she took a deep breath. And another, her eyes fluttered open, clear and bright. "Daddy?" she whispered. "I can breathe." Daniel froze. Then he laughed and cried at the same time, hugging her tightly. "You did it, baby. You made it." He didn't know if Seren's sacrifice had caused this miracle, but he whispered her name with gratitude. For 2 whole minutes, it felt like peace, until the house sensors beeped. Unauthorized energy surge detected. Security patrol inbound. Daniel's joy vanished. He looked at Lena, still weak but alive. He whispered, "I won't let them take you." He grabbed a small bag, stuffed it with food, water, and a few tools. He wrapped Lena in a blanket and carried her in his arms. Outside, the night sky lit up with the blue glow of descending ships. "Daniel Cross," a loud voice called. "Surrender now. Return the stolen technology and the subject." Daniel's eyes filled with fire. "She's not a subject. She's my daughter." He ran into the dark streets, clutching Lena close. The ships opened fire, blasting the ground behind him. Dust and smoke filled the air. Lena coughed softly, but her lungs were strong now. "Daddy, where are we going?" Daniel looked up at the stars. "Somewhere they can't find us. Somewhere we can be free." He ran until his legs gave out. Behind him the colony burned and the night echoed with the roar of engines. But ahead of him the desert stretched wide and endless. A path of hope. The night wind tore across the open plains, carrying dust and the echo of engines. Daniel ran through the darkness, holding Lena close to his chest. The sky behind them glowed red. The colony was burning. He didn't look back. He couldn't. Every light in the sky felt like an enemy eye. Every sound made his heart jump. Lena's small hand gripped his shirt. "Daddy, are they gone?" "Not yet, sweetheart," he whispered, breathless. "But they will be. I promise." The desert stretched ahead. Endless, silent, merciless. Somewhere beyond those dunes was the old Star Harbor, a forgotten port where ships once came and went before the war. If he could reach it, he might escape the planet. But the Galactic Authority would not stop. He had stolen their most sacred rule. He had saved life without their permission. Hours passed. Daniel's legs trembled, his throat dry as stone. Finally, he found a broken sign half buried in the sand. Star Harbor, 5 miles, he smiled weakly. Almost there. But his smile faded when he saw shadows moving near the ridge. 3 figures walking toward him through the dust. He froze, clutching Lena protectively. "Stay behind me." The shapes came closer, and Daniel's heart almost stopped. It was Kale and Mira, bruised, limping, but alive. Between them floated a weak silver light, Seren, Daniel whispered. The light flickered, forming Seren's faint image, not a body but her energy, her mind. Kyle's voice shook. She transferred her consciousness into the fusion core before the explosion. "We thought we lost her, but she's here, Daniel. She's alive." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "You came back." Mira smiled faintly. "We promised we wouldn't leave your family alone." They found an old cargo shelter at the edge of the harbor. The metal walls groaned in the wind, but it was safe enough for the night. Daniel laid Lena on a blanket. Her breathing was calm now, her face warm with life. "She's healing." Seren's holographic voice whispered softly. "Her lungs have fused perfectly. She'll live." Daniel sat beside her and closed his eyes for the first time in days. "Thank you. All of you." Kyle cleaned her wounds, wincing. "Don't thank us yet. The patrols will reach this place soon." "We need a ship," Mira nodded. "The old launch pads might still have one that works, if Kale can repair it." Kale grinned weakly. "If it's made of metal, I can make it fly." At dawn, the group reached the harbor's ruins. Rusted ships lay half buried in sand. Towers leaned like broken bones against the sky. Kale found an old trader vessel, small, but intact. She ran her hand over the hull. "She's ancient, but she'll do." Daniel set Lena inside the cockpit while Kale crawled under the ship. Sparks flashed as she worked. Mira stood watch at the entrance, her senses alert. "They're coming," she whispered. "Fast." Serene's faint light hovered near the ship's power core. "I can connect with its systems, but it will drain what's left of me." Daniel turned to her. "No, you've done enough." Her voice was soft but firm. "You saved your daughter, Daniel. Now let me save you." The roar of engines filled the air. Galactic ships appeared over the dunes, their blue lights slicing through the dust. Kale shouted, "Almost ready. Just 30 more seconds." Daniel grabbed an old rifle, taking position near the hatch. He fired at the approaching drones, sparks lighting up the sky. Mira raised her hand, sending shockwaves that knocked soldiers off balance. But there were too many. A voice boomed through a speaker. "Daniel Cross, surrender now. Return the alien fugitives and the stolen child subject." Daniel shouted back, voice full of rage and grief. "She's not a subject. She's my daughter." A blast hit the ground nearby, throwing him off his feet. He rolled, coughing, blood on his lips. "Kale!" he yelled. "Now!" Kale slammed a lever. The ship's engines roared to life, shaking the sand. Seren's light brightened, spreading through the control panels. "Hold on," she cried. The ship lifted off the ground, flames bursting from its thrusters. Soldiers fired relentlessly. Laser beams scorched the hull, but the ship climbed higher. Daniel held Lena close as Kale pulled the throttle. "Come on, old girl, fly." The sky turned blinding white as the vessel broke through the upper clouds. Silence. Only the hum of the ship remained. Below them, the desert looked small, a dying world left behind. Daniel looked out the window, tears in his eyes. "We made it." Seren's voice was faint now. "You're free, Daniel. Protect her. Raise her to be kind. To remember that life is worth fighting for." Her light dimmed until only a soft glow remained in the control core. Daniel whispered, "Seren?" No answer. Kale wiped her eyes silently. Mira looked at the stars and whispered a prayer in her language. Daniel held Lena as she slept peacefully, breathing easily for the first time in her life. They were fugitives now, a broken man. 2 alien women and a child who had defied death. But as their small ship drifted through the endless night, Daniel looked up at the stars and smiled. "Let them call me criminal," he murmured. "Let them call me mad. I saved my daughter, and that's enough." Outside, the stars shimmered. cold, bright, and full of promise. The stars outside the window burned like quiet fires. Daniel sat in the cockpit of the old trader ship, his eyes fixed on the endless darkness ahead. The hum of the engines was soft, almost like a heartbeat, the heartbeat of freedom. Lena slept soundly beside him, wrapped in a warm blanket. Her chest rose and fell peacefully. Her breathing was strong now, stronger than ever before. But Daniel couldn't sleep, not after what it had cost. He looked at the empty console where serene silver light used to glow. "She gave everything," he whispered. Cale's voice came from behind him, calm but tired. "She believed in you. We all did." Mira stood by the window, her scales catching faint light. "We escaped the planet, Daniel. But the war isn't over. The Galactic Authority never forgets." Daniel nodded slowly. "Then we stay hidden. We'll find a new world somewhere they don't rule." Kyle smirked faintly. "You make it sound easy. You know how many planets they control?" Daniel smiled weakly. "Then we just need one they don't." The ship drifted through the outer rim, far from trade routes and patrol zones. Supplies were low. The engines were old. The stars looked peaceful, but Daniel knew peace was never free. Cale worked endlessly to keep the ship alive. Her blue hands were covered in grease and burns, but she never complained. "You're running her too hot," Daniel said as he entered the engine room. Cale wiped her brow. "You want to float dead in space, or do you want to keep moving?" He chuckled. "Fair point." She looked at him for a moment, her expression softening. "You know, back on my planet, humans were stories. We thought you were monsters, cold, cruel. But you risked everything for one little girl." Daniel shrugged. "Monsters don't cry, Cale." For a moment she didn't answer. Then she said quietly, "No, but heroes do." Meanwhile, Mira spent her days teaching Lena small things. How to meditate, how to listen to the stars, how to sense emotion. "Can you feel that?" Mira asked one night as they sat together. Lena closed her eyes. "It's warm. Like the stars are talking." Mira smiled gently. "That warmth is life. It's what Seren wanted you to carry forward." Lena nodded. "I miss her." "So do I," Mira said softly. "But she's still here. In the light. In your breath and in your father's heart." Daniel overheard their words from the doorway. His chest ached, but also filled with pride. His daughter was growing, not just stronger, but wiser. Days turned into weeks. The ship traveled deeper into uncharted space. Then one morning the radar beeped. Cale frowned at the screen. "That's impossible." Daniel leaned over her shoulder. "What is it?" "A distress signal," she said. "Human code. Old Earth frequency." Daniel's eyes widened. "Human out here?" Mira's expression darkened. "It could be a trap. The Authority uses fake signals to lure fugitives." But Daniel's heart wouldn't let him ignore it. If it's real, someone might need help. "We can't just leave them," Kyle sighed. "You're too kind for this galaxy, Daniel." They followed the signal to a small moon surrounded by mist. A crashed ship lay half buried in the dirt, its hull torn apart. Daniel landed nearby and stepped out carefully with Cale and Mira. The air smelled of smoke and iron. "Hello?" Daniel called. "Is anyone alive?" A faint voice answered from the wreckage. "Help, please." They ran toward the sound. Under a piece of metal they found a man, human, barely breathing. His uniform was torn, but the symbol on it made Daniel's blood run cold. It was the mark of the Galactic Authority. Kyle raised her weapon. "He's one of them." Daniel hesitated. The man coughed weakly, eyes wide with fear. "Please, I don't want to die. They left me here." Mira placed her hand on the man's forehead, reading his emotions. "He's not lying. He's broken, abandoned." Daniel clenched his fists. Every part of him screamed to walk away, but he couldn't. He lifted the metal sheet and helped the man out. "You'll live, but if you call them, we all die." The man nodded slowly. "I won't, I swear." "I saw what they did to you, to that girl. You're not the criminals. They are." Later that night, as the rescued man slept, Cale looked at Daniel. "You helped the enemy, again." Daniel looked out the window. Maybe he was the enemy, but now he's just another soul who wants to live. Freedom means something only if it's for everyone. Mira smiled faintly. "You speak like Seren." Daniel nodded. "She's still teaching us. Even now." Outside, the stars shimmered, the endless and cold. But for the first time, Daniel didn't feel alone in the dark. He had his daughter. He had his new family. and somewhere in the stars, Seren's light still guided them. The trader ship drifted quietly through the black ocean of stars. Weeks had passed since they rescued the stranded officer. The engines hummed softly, steady as a heartbeat. Inside, life had found rhythm again, fragile but real. Daniel stood near the viewport staring at the tiny blue planet ahead. It shimmered like a jewel among dust and darkness. Cale called it Varela 3, a forgotten world outside Galactic Authority space. Atmosphere's clean, Cale said, tapping the console. Oxygen levels close to Earth. No patrol signals, no colonies. Looks like we're alone, Daniel smiled faintly. Then this will be our home, Mira's soft voice followed. A new beginning. Away from the reach of the law, he looked at Lena sitting in the co-pilot seat. Her cheeks glowed with health, her smile bright. You'll like it there, sweetheart. Real wind, real sky. Lena nodded eagerly. Can we plant flowers, Daddy? Yes, he said, voice cracking a little. We'll plant everything you want. The ship touched down on the planet's surface, stirring up golden dust. They stepped out together. Daniel, Cale, Mira, Lena, and the weak officer they had rescued, now healing. The air was soft and cool. Daniel inhaled deeply. It smells alive, he said. Cale smiled. Then this is the right place. They built a small shelter beside a shimmering lake. Days turned into weeks. They hunted, repaired the ship, and grew crops. For the first time, Lena laughed freely under the open sky. Daniel often sat by the water at night, watching the reflections of stars. Sometimes he could almost hear Seren's voice in the wind. Calm, gentle, proud. You kept your promise, he whispered to the sky. One evening, Cale joined him. Her blue skin glowed under the twin moons. She'd be proud of you, you know, she said softly. Daniel smiled. You think so? I know so. You gave life, Daniel. Not just to Lena, but to us. You gave us purpose. He looked at her, then at Mira, who was singing to Lena by the fire. You gave me more than I ever expected, too. Cale's gaze was warm. You gave us freedom. That's not something anyone forgets. Daniel looked back at the fire, his voice barely above a whisper. You're not my slaves. You're my family. Seren, you, Mira, all of you. Cale smiled. Then maybe this is what she meant. Not one world, not one kind. A family made from many. But peace in the galaxy never lasted long. One night, as Daniel fixed the transmitter to contact other refugees, the screen flickered to life, a red warning signal. Incoming vessel detected. Cale jumped to her feet. Authority ship. They found us. Daniel's heart pounded. How? The rescued officer stepped from the shadows, guilt written all over his face. I sent a message, he whispered. I thought they'd spare you if I told them you saved me. I didn't know they'd... Daniel didn't let him finish. Get Lena inside, he ordered. Cale grabbed her tools. Mira stood protectively beside the child. The sky turned white as the ship descended, sleek and black, marked with the galactic crest. A cold voice echoed through the air. Daniel Cross, surrender. You are charged with interspecies trafficking, theft and rebellion against the High Council. Daniel stood tall, his hands trembling but his eyes fierce. You'll have to take me by force. The soldiers advanced through the smoke, their weapons ready. Cale fired first, a blinding blue beam that tore through the sand. Mira's psychic blast followed, throwing soldiers to the ground. Daniel fought beside them, protecting his daughter behind the rocks. The air burned with light and dust, then Lena screamed. A laser bolt had hit near her, knocking her to the ground. Daniel's heart stopped. He ran, grabbed her, held her close. Lena, look at me! She coughed, but she was alive. Her lungs, rebuilt by Seren's gift, were strong. She stood on her own, defiant. Leave my daddy alone, she shouted, her voice echoing across the battlefield. The soldiers hesitated, shocked by the human child standing tall against them. And then something miraculous happened. The sky shimmered. A wave of silver light poured down, surrounding Lena. Seren's voice echoed through the air, clear and powerful. Enough! Her form appeared above them, and a ghost made of light and energy. This man defied your laws not for greed, but for love. If you call that a crime, then your law is hollow. The soldiers froze. Their scanners flickered. The authorities' commander lowered his weapon slowly. Retreat, he ordered. This world is outside our claim. Leave them. The ships pulled away, vanishing into the stars. When silence returned, Daniel sank to his knees, tears mixing with dust. Seren. Her light faded slowly, her voice soft. Live well, Daniel. Build what we never could, a place where all kinds belong. Then she was gone. Kyle, Mira, and Lena gathered around him. The dawn light washed over them. Lena looked up at her father. Is she gone, Daddy? Daniel hugged her tightly. No, sweetheart. She's everywhere now. Years later, people across 3 systems would tell the story of the man who bought 3 alien women, not for power, not for greed, but for love. They would call him the father of 3 worlds. And somewhere on a quiet planet, a little girl with bright eyes would look at the stars and whisper, "Thank you, Seren."